Coffee with Crime and Sugar by Shakespeare on AO3, Episode 13, Chapter 4. That's what all of it was. Murasaki acting charming to be able to be near him, to make Izuku let his guard down. And whoever it was that wanted Izuku dead, it could be his employer, who might have caught on to what Izuku was up to. Or maybe some criminal who was tipped off to the police because of him, and now wants revenge. It could be anyone, actually. Izuku has, uncomfortably, made a lot of enemies despite his many alliances. But wait, Murasaki said he's too important to kill. Maybe the guy had realized that he could simply torture Izuku for all his useful info and analysis, and then kill him. Really get enough bang for his buck. Or maybe it was the other way around, since he's the one getting paid. Either way, he's dead meat if he sticks around. He needs to scram pronto. His legs feel like jelly when he stands up. He just might start shaking. A killer right next door and ready to snatch Izuku away to torture him. He needs to run away. He needs to disappear. He has an emergency cash dash in his mattress and a burner phone. He quickly gets those and a few other essentials before taking the fire escape by the balcony. He may have to lay low for a bit after that. It's a matter of survival. Except, his heart is beating so fast, and his chest hurts, and he's lightheaded from both fear and unsteady breathing. He moves too quickly, hips knocking onto the nightstand by the couch that has a lamp on it. He watches in slow motion as it happens. The lamp tips over, almost in a cartoonish fashion, making a tragic descent to the floor before it breaks with a rather loud shatter, porcelain scattering everywhere. And then there's silence, not just in his living room, but next door as well. His heart isn't beating anymore. It stopped, and Izuku is frozen like a prey animal, keeping still as if that will keep him unnoticed. 1, 2, 3 seconds of no sound until his ears pick up something very quiet, but still heard nonetheless. I'll call you back. There is no mistaking it. He gulps, trying to remain calm, as he hears a door in the hallway open and close, presumably by his neighbors. And presumably is correct when his name is called out. Right there, outside of his door, that's unlocked. Oh no, how could he have skipped that crucial part of his routine? He knew he was exhausted, but he didn't know it was enough to have him forget to do that. Murasaki calls him again, and Izuku has to remain focused amongst the fear. He needs to lock it right now. He doesn't care if it's heard. He'll quickly lock the deadbolt or two, and then he'll fling himself out of the way in case the killer on the other side decides to unload some bullets through it. He takes 2 steps forward, legs feeling weak. The handle turns before he could get there, and the door swings open. Izuku stills, a deer in the headlights. He certainly feels like one anyways. Violet eyes are wide with concern, as Murasaki stands there with his hands still wrapped around the handle. I heard something break, he says, taking in the sight of broken porcelain, and Izuku standing there. The start of a question is stopped. Tell me you're okay, he says instead. Izuku can say nothing. He's barely keeping his heart from choking him. He's so unbelievably tense, wound up, and dying. Well, hopefully not. To get the hell out of there. Murasaki must sense this, though he apparently thinks it's best to play dumb and keep their friendly neighbor act so he could have a chance to pounce. Midori, you're as pale as a sheet. Izuku feels the fear dripping down his body when the other takes a slow step closer. So much that he may get tunnel vision. His breathing suddenly gets a bit too uneven and audible, and he appears to be having a panic attack on the outside. Well, the inside feels like that too. Eyebrows scrunched together. Please, tell me what's wrong. Murasaki says slowly, like he's trying to get Izuku to calm down. He takes another couple steps. I want to help. He gets too close. Izuku's all panic and muscle memory at this point. And unluckily for Murasaki, another thing he forgot to do earlier was unstrap the EDD from his armband and put it away. There's the sound of Velcro from the armband paired with Izuku's raging breathing as he practically rips it off, pointing the end of the protective device towards the other and pushing it forward in a rush. It hits Murasaka's shoulder, and all the man can do is gap before he's seizing up, eyes wide as electricity rips through him. Izuku keeps it there for only a couple of seconds before pulling back, watching as the man crumbles to the floor with a thud. He's still breathing unevenly, staring at an unmoving form of his neighbor, and thinking, oh my god, oh. Now would be a good time to get out of here and never look back. And Izuku feels as frozen as the other. Well, not exactly, considering Murasaka is out cold at the moment, but still, he was lucky enough to still be armed. If not, then what would have happened? Surely it would have ended in him being strangled until he passed out, only to wake up tied in a mental chair while having his fingertips pulled out, or some other sickening torture method. Count him out of that. He needs to be gone before the other wakes up. Before the only thing worse than a hitman after him is an angry hitman after him. No thank you. Double it and give it to the next person. He looks at Murasaka's form on the floor, unmoving and unconscious. He wonders how long it'll stay that way. The guy's still breathing, so Izuku knows he didn't accidentally kill him. The odd thing is, though, despite time being precious right now, Izuku doesn't move. Everything is silent, except for his still racing heart as he considers what's going to happen next. If he leaves and hides away, how long until Murasaka finds him again? He'll surely be pissed, and assuming he already knows Izuku's identity, who's to say he won't pay his mother a visit? Oh, no, that cannot happen. But what other options does he have? What's the alternative to this nightmare? He takes a deep gulp of breath, trying hard to keep another rising panic attack at bay. He needs a plan. The EDD stays close by when he goes into the kitchen, making sure the unconscious stays like that for a bit longer, please. Man is still in his sights while digging through the junk drawer. He's sure he put a pack of zip ties in there. Ah, Eureka. It's a pain in the ass to drag Murasaka over to the hall closet, mostly because Izuku needs both of his hands to do so, and that means setting his only weapon down and leaving himself completely open to an attack, should the other wake up. Somehow he manages through sitting him upright and tying his hands together behind his back, looping around the small hot water radiator in his storage closet. He's sure that he won't be able to get out of that unless the guy is strong enough to pull Nether out of the floor. If he is, then Izuku is as good as dead. The zip tie should hold, but there's also the chance that Murasaka could break them if he tries with all his might. Maybe flexes and they could snap? Think positive thoughts. Perhaps Murasaka would applaud Izuku's ability to defend him and grant him a blessing of killing him quickly and painlessly. More positive than that. He sighs, the exhale coming out shaky. This will be fine. He can negotiate for his life. He just prays that this hitman is open to an agreement. Izuku stays a bit away from him, gripping his EDD and waiting for the other to come. He figured that someone with a profession like Murasaka's would be able to take a zap and only be out of it for a bit. But that's not the case, because it's a few more minutes until he starts to stir. It's a light twitch at first, shoulder straining, and a light groan. Violent eyes crack open, dazing and unfocused. Izuku stays tense, standing there and waiting to see if those zip ties stand a chance against his assailant. Another groan. Murasaka tries to move, and it's very noticeable the exact moment he seems to realize that he's been restrained. He tugs again, no give. His eyes widen, and he looks up from his lap, panic gaze landing on Izuku. What? Izuku squeezes the EDD, pointing the end of it to the other in warning. Listen, He has to stop his voice from trembling. I don't know what they're paying you, but whatever it is, I can double it. He has to dip into his offshore savings, but it's worth it if he gets to live. Eyebrows scrunched together like Murasaka is confused. No, unsatisfied. Definitely. With that offer. Triple then. I can pay triple. Maybe not all that front, but if it's who I think it is who hired you, that company's going to bust soon, and it'll get a big payout. Murasaka is looking at him like he's crazy. Just how much was he offered to kill Izuku? Surely not that much, right? Oh geez, what if this attempt at negotiating is an insult to the other? Besides, he probably had countless people plead for their lives with the attempt to bribe him. Not to mention, he probably wanted to keep Izuku alive to get info on other cases that he's working on. Midori? Murasaki starts, looking a bit shell-shocked. What the fuck? Izuku gulps. He's dead. So fucking dead. Well, at least he lived, doing something good for the world that'll burn in hell after making him suffer. Legs draw back, bent at the knees as Murasaki draws into himself, as if Izuku is a dangerous one here. What's going on? Why am I tied up? What are you talking about? He rushes out harshly. He tries to yank his arms out, but they don't budge. However, the action does make Izuku flinch, thinking that the guy's about to burst free and snap his neck. Izuku is flabbergasted. Is Murasaki really going to play that game? To be fair, he's a really good actor, because he genuinely looks frightening. Izuku begins, but stops when there's a tingling sensation at the base of his skull. It's out of nowhere and awfully distracting. Murasaki burrows frow while he's staring at Izuku, like there's something he doesn't understand. He gulps, but then asks, Can you talk to me? Maybe we can reason with each other? I am. Izuku says to that, because obviously, that's the goal here. But then that tingle starts again, as quickly as it had gone away. He rubs it back as his head. What is that? He mumbles. What the fuck? Murasaki repeats in a whisper, but it doesn't seem like an actual question for anyone. He thinks back to his thoughts upon the first time hearing the other's voice, about how that, or maybe his eyes, had something to do with his quirk. Perhaps that's what it is. Look, I don't know what's going on, but I definitely would like to. Especially if it means getting an answer on why you tased me and tied me up like some lunatic. Murasaki scoffs, not amused with any of this. To be fair, though, who would be? Izuku huffs. Me? A lunatic? You're the one who moved into the building in order to stalk, kidnap, and murder me. What the actual hell are you talking about? Look, I know that you're someone who gets rid of people. Izuku admits meekly and quietly. I'll keep my mouth shut, outpay your current employer, and we could just pretend this never happened. Please say yes. Izuku's life is on the line here. He can't keep Murasaki here forever, and if he calls the police and has him arrested, who's to say that the guy doesn't have people on the other side who will help him with a grudge? The other is looking at him like he's grown a second head. The air is practically palpable, thick with tension, before the words come out of Murasaki's mouth. Gaping are, You think I'm, what, an assassin or something? There's a wild disbelief in his tone, as if Izuku has spun some crazy story. A contract killer, yes, Izuku says with a nod. Murasaki blinks owlishly, and Izuku briefly thinks that he's been tased for a second too long. Tell me what led you to that conclusion. Izuku perps his lips, looking away. He doesn't exactly want to admit that he'd looked through the other's computer and found unsettling murder-related info. My observations on you for the past week or so? He answers vaguely. Enlighten me on those observations? Says Murasaki, deadpan. Izuku sighs. It just seems like there's something you're trying to hide. He begins. Like you turn your computer screen away all the time in the cafe, or just close it altogether sometimes. And one night I saw... Uh-oh, he's about to sound like the stalker now. I saw you loitering around and scribbling something in a notepad before disappearing into the shadows. He mumbled out, and tried not to fidget. He sneaks a glance at the restrained man. Murasaki's eyebrows are still pinched together, a wrinkle between them, as he processing his words. But then his face relaxes, his shoulders scowled, and his head tips back to rest on the metal. Don't look at his neck, don't look at his neck, don't look at his... Tragic. The unclean thoughts are here, despite all of this. Izuku needs professional help. Okay, I know I'm leaving it off at a really weird area, but I found it hilarious. I will say, the next chapter starts with, despite how relaxed shoulders Murasaki... Despite his now relaxed shoulders... Why was I reading that so horribly wrong the first time? Why couldn't I just read despite his now? And I was reading it despite how. What? I was cutting off those two words and putting it what? That makes no sense. Okay, despite now... No! Okay, despite his now relaxed shoulders, Murasaki looks anything but restful as he stares Izuku in the eye and simply says, Midori, I'm a writer. I love that. I love that. I also know that a lot of the times with like people being writers, you always think the big trope is that they're like their search history is the most absurd thing in the sense of like, oh, FBI agents are gonna be up on them. But like not all writers are like that, right? I'm like that because I don't necessarily write murder mystery or stuff like that, but I do like to put my characters into, or you know, characters when it comes to fan fictions as well, characters into really interesting positions and really interesting tragic backstories and stuff. And I need to know if that's physically possible, right? Like for example, an OC of mine losing their arm. Because I feel like them losing an arm is a crucial point to their whole thing, or different mental illnesses and stuff like that. But you know, that's just a me thing, though. That's just an echo thing. But what's it called? Sometimes our search histories are weird. Like I feel bad if I ever get a doctor friend because I'm gonna be asking him the most absurd, weird stuff in the whole world, right? And then I feel bad if I ever get a friend who's like a scientist because they're also gonna get the most weird, obscured, goddamn things, like if it's possible for two women to have kids, and if so, how? I know bone marrow is a thing, but is that actually plausible now? Is that something that has been clinically tested and there is no side effects, stuff like that? And if there is side effects, tell me the side effects so I could portray that in my story. Anyways, my search history is weird, and I know weird, absurd little facts that, you know, a regular person should not know. But yeah, God, can we talk about how Izuku tased? Okay. I did not think this is where it was going. God. Oh my God. This is just two terrified people with a huge misunderstanding in the middle. Okay. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord, we're halfway through. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.